Nigeria's broad money supply climbed to 119.04 trillion naira in October 2025, up from 117.78 trillion naira in September. Accordingly to new released by Central Bank of Nigeria data, the 1.25 trillion naira increase, representing 1.06% growth, marked a rebound after the slowdown recorded the previous month. Welcome to Business Points, where we extract the Nigerian economy and the government policies. I am Kike Lomo Okere. The year-on-year M2 expanded by 11.04 trillion naira, that is 10.22%, from 107.99 trillion naira in October 2024, reflecting persistent liquidity growth in the economy despite tight monetary condition earlier the year. The October rise followed the Monetary Policy Committee September decision to cut the monetary policy rate by 50 basis points to 27%. The first reduction since 2020, as inflation began to ease and foreign exchange pressure moderated. The move created slightly more room for liquidity without triggering a resurgence in inflation. A major factor behind the increase was the sharp jump in net domestic assets. NDA surged by 84.23 trillion naira in October from 76.12 trillion naira in September. An 8.11 trillion naira, that is 10.65% rise, driven by stronger domestic credit, increased government borrowing, and higher banking claims on the private sector. This domestic expansion outweighed a significant drop in net foreign assets, which fell by 41.66 trillion naira to 34.80 trillion naira, a 16.45% contraction, indicating renewed external pressure. Money supply measured as M2 also grew moderately by 1.25 trillion naira from 117.77 trillion naira to 119.03 trillion naira, mirroring the overall trend. Compared with the October 2024, M2 expanded by 11.04 trillion naira, that is 10.22%. Narrow money, that is M1, recorded a smaller month-on-month increase of 0.61%, rising to 39.35 trillion naira. However, year-on-year, M1 advanced by 13.12%, showing stronger growth in transactional balances. The central bank maintained the monetary policy rate at 27% in November, signaling caution in managing liquidity while consolidating disinflation recorded so far. The MPC also adjusted the policy corridor to +50 to -400 to 450 basis points, retained the cash ratio at 45% for deposit money banks, 16% for merchant banks, and 75% for non-TSA public sector funds. The liquidity ratio remained unchanged at 30%. According to the bank, inflation has declined for 7 straight months, dropping from 34% to 16.05%. Food inflation eased to 13.12%, while core inflation moderated to 18.69%. The CBN attributed this progress to sustained tightening, a more stable FX market, rising capital inflow, and relative stable fuel price. The bank emphasized that stabilizing prices and financial condition remain central to restoring long-term economic growth, noting that current policy setting aimed to preserve recent gain while allowing previous adjustment to take full effect. The African Development Bank Group has approved a $500 million loan to support Nigerian economic governance reform and accelerate its energy transition agenda. The funding forms the second phase of the Economic Governance and Energy Transition Support Program and will cover fiscal year of 2024 and 2025. According to the bank, the program is designed to strengthen fiscal policy advance energy sector reform, and promote climate action, aligning Nigeria's development priorities with global sustainability goals. The intervention targets three major areas. The first focuses on deepening fiscal reform by improving public financial management, enhancing budget transparency, and increasing the efficiency of the government expenditure. The aim is to boost non-oil revenue and expand fiscal space at a time when the government is under pressure to stabilize public finance. The second area priorities energy sector reform. The program seeks to improve governance in the power sector, reduce energy poverty, broaden electricity access, and attract private investment into key infrastructure. Strengthening the sector remains critical for supporting industrial growth and addressing long-term supply challenges. The third area centers on energy transition and climate action. The AFDB will support the implementation of Nigeria's energy transition plan, promote climate mitigation and adaptation measures, and introduce national energy efficiency standards for electrical appliances. The program also includes an update of Nigeria's national determined contribution for the 2026 to 2030 period. Government institutions expected to benefit directly include the Ministry of Power, Finance and Environment, and the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, the Debt Management Office, and the Office of the Auditor General, as well as the National Climate Change Council. The private sector is also projected to gain from an improved investment climate, particularly through expanded opportunities in clean energy and power objects. As of October 2025, the AFDB had 52 active projects in Nigeria with a total commitment of $5.1 billion. The new loan reinforces the bank's long-term support for Nigerian fiscal reform, energy transition efforts, and a plan to build more resilient and inclusive economy. The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, in collaboration with Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited and First Exploration and Petroleum Development Company Limited, has unveiled the Nigerian Engineering Olympiad, a new national competition designed to inspire innovation among engineering students. The initiative, implemented by the Enactors Nigeria with support from the Nigerian Society of Engineers, is aimed at encouraging final year and postgraduate engineering students to develop practical technology-driven solutions to societal challenges. According to the organizers, the Olympiad is positioned as a platform that links academic creativity with real industry needs, enabling young engineers to transform ideas into functional prototypes and commercially viable products. The NCDMB Executive Secretary Felix Ogbe noted that program align with the federal government's Nigerian First agenda and addresses a long-standing skill gap in the engineering sector. He explained that only a small proportion of engineering graduates meet industry readiness standards, resulting in a shortage of competent local engineers and increased dependence on expatriates. Expertise. The Olympiad, he says, complements the board's ongoing human capacity development program in the fields such as petroleum engineering, digital technology, and robotics. Ogbe added that the board aimed to institutionalize the Olympiad as an annual platform that identifies the nurture exceptional engineering talent, provides mentorship opportunities, and strengthening entrepreneurial skills to help young professionals succeed in the workforce or develop their own technology enterprises. Representative of partners organization highlighted the value of the initiative, like the Ministry of Youth Development emphasized the importance of harnessing the creativity of Nigerian youth in an increasingly innovation-driven world. First E&P described the competition as an opportunity to engage engineering students at a high academic level and expose them to real-world industry challenges, while stressing that such programs can help curb the growing trends of brain drain by creating more opportunities locally. The National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure and the Nigerian Society of Engineers also endorsed the Olympiad, describing it as a major step towards strengthening engineering excellence and bridging the gap between academic training and industrial application. The NSCE is expected to provide technical guidance to ensure students' innovation meets global standards. Application opened will close shortly. The competition will begin the intra-school contest that will produce one winning team from each institution's selected team will receive technical mentorship and resources to refine their ideas into a prototype. 30 teams, 5 from each geopolitical zone, will advance to the regional stage for additional funding and technical support to develop minimum viable product. From there, 12 teams will move to semi-final for intensive mentorship and a business development boot camp. The program will conclude with a national grand finale on April 11, where 4 teams will emerge as overall winners. The International Energy Agency has commended the ongoing reform in the Nigerian upstream petroleum sector as the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRC) explained how the Petroleum Industry Act (PIA) 2021 has fundamentally reshaped governance, improved transparency, and strengthening investors' confidence in the industry. A statement by the Commission says a high-level IEA delegation led by African Program Manager Rita Mederia made the commendation during a courtesy visit to the NUPRC headquarters in Abuja. Receiving the delegation, the Commission Chief Executive Gbenga Komolafe says PIA has ushered in predictable and rule-based fiscal and regulatory environment that is now driving renewed investors' interest in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. He noted that in the 4 years since the Act came into force, the Commission had developed and gazetted 17 regulatory instruments in extensive collaboration with industry stakeholders. He explained that these instruments have reduced discretion, enhanced clarity, and created an enabling environment for capital inflow. He stated that regulatory certainty deepening stakeholders' confidence and align Nigerian upstream sector with global best practice. In her remarks, the Maderia praised NUPRC integration of decarbonization requirements into the upstream project approvals, noting that embedding green strategies in the field development plans aligns with the global financing expectation for low-carbon projects. All right, let's take a quick short break now. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Stay with us. Joining us, it's Business Point on Global Television, where we extract the Nigerian economy and the government policies. The Dangote Group has entered into a new series of technical partnership to drive the next phase of its fertilizer expansion in Nigeria and support the development of a new fertilizer complex in Ethiopia. The company says the move is part of the broader strategy to boost regional food security, improve agricultural productivity, and strengthen Africa's role in the global fertilizer market. According to the group, the plans will significantly scale up production capacity in Nigeria, increase urea output from 3 million metric tons to 9 million metric tons annually. The existing two train plants currently produce the 3 million metric tons, while the expansion will add 4 new production trains to meet rising demand across Africa and international markets. In Ethiopia, the company recently broke ground on $2.5 billion fertilizer plant in Gold. The facility, designed to produce 3 metric tons of urea per year, is expected to support the country's agricultural and industrial growth while reinforcing Dangote's Pan-Africa footprint in the sector. The technical partnership includes collaboration with a firm such as Sepam, Energia Engineers India Limited, and Topsy. As part of the agreement, Topsy will supply ammonia technology licenses and process design package for 6 ammonia plants, 4 in Nigeria and 2 in Ethiopia, leveraging its global expertise in efficient, environmentally compliant production system. While Dangote Cement PLC reiterated its commitment to community development, noting that social investment across its host community in Nigeria and Africa operations remains central to its sustainability and corporate responsibility agenda. Credit to the private sector rose sharply in October 2025, climbing to 74.41 trillion naira from 72.53 trillion naira in September, based on the Central Bank of Nigeria money and credit statistics. The increase of about 1.88 trillion naira represents a month-on-month growth of 2.60%, the strongest positive movement so far in 2025. The jump came immediately after the Monetary Policy Committee cut the monetary policy rates by 50 basis points to 27% as at September 2025, meeting the first policy rate reduction since 2020. As inflation began to ease and foreign exchange conditions improved, at its November 2025 meeting, the MPC then held the MPR at 27%, while tweaking the corridor around the rate to discourage banks from simply parking liquidity with the CBN, signaling a cautious approach to managing system liquidity and inflation. On a year-on-year basis, credit to the private sector increased only slightly from 74.07 trillion naira in October 2024 to 74.41 trillion naira in October 2025. That represents a rise of 0.34 trillion naira, that is 0.46%. Private sector rose sharply in October 2025, climbing to 74.41 trillion naira from 72.53 trillion naira in September. Based on the Central Bank of Nigeria and credit statistics, the increase of about 1.88 trillion naira represents a month-on-month growth of 2.60%, the strongest positive movement so far in 2025. The jump came immediately after the MPC meeting. Reduction since 2020 as inflation began to ease foreign exchange conditions. On a year-on-year basis, credit to private sector increased only slightly from 74.07 trillion naira. That represents a rise of 0.34 trillion naira, that is 0.46%. The modest annually gain shows that while the stock of private credit is broadly back to where it was a year earlier, the real story is the short-term rebound that followed the September rate cut. Across 2025, the pattern of the private sector credit has been choppy rather than steadily expansionary. It started the year at 77.38 trillion naira in January slipped to 76.26 trillion naira in February and 75.98 trillion naira in March, then recovered to 78.07 trillion naira in April. It softened again to 77.97 trillion naira in May and 76.13 trillion naira in June. Over around 75.88 trillion naira in August, then dropped sharply to 72.53 trillion naira in September before the October bounce to 74.41 trillion naira. All right, this is where we'll call it a wrap on Business Point today. Join me again tomorrow on Global Television, channel 365 on DSTV and 276 on Star Times. To stay connected, kindly follow us on all our social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG. Till I come your way again, I am Kike Lomo Okeri. I celebrate you all.